But if I'm trying to output the value of a variable that's in the program, that's not in quotes. I just put the name of the variable like this. Okay, so this is one way we can get this to print out, and we'll show you it. And then the other way, and you'll get these, here, let's do this. Control V, we'll say another way. But the outputs will be identical, right? Even though the formatting, the syntax of this is obviously very different from this. And again, at first glance, you may say, well, gee, Jeff, this is a lot easier. You know, if it's a string, I put it in quotes and I put a comma. And then if it's a variable, I just put the variable name. And then, you know, maybe another comma and another string or whatever I want. Notice with the F statement, it's one string, and things that are variable, you put in brackets. Okay, I call them squigglies. They're not brackets, they're braces. I'm sorry, braces. They're above, and on my keyboard, they are uppercase to the brackets. Upper right part of the keyboard, lowercase, you'll see square brackets, and uppercase, you'll see the braces. These are braces. To make an F statement work, things that are real variables, all you have to do is put within braces. Okay, and so the whole thing is one big string. And actually, if I wanted to do this properly, I would want to get that exclamation point in there, which I would include as another argument. So I'd say, okay, so this should print, if I didn't mess it up, should print this string, the value for first name, then the exclamation point. This should print the exact same thing, just formatted a different way. So if I run this, and hopefully I didn't make any mistakes, enter your first name. So it wants me to enter a name. So I'll enter David. And sure enough, the output is identical, right? But when you look at the actual snippet of code, the script of code, you can see that the way I have formatted this is very different in the code itself. It's very different from the way I formatted this.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
They're not identical.
They're not.
Not on my.
Oh, okay. Don't have a space there. Right. Okay. Let's fix that. No, you're right.
There's a comma in the second hello, David.
Okay. You're right. Absolutely. Okay. I should. And there's also the spacing is different for the exclamation point. I told you if I did it right, and I didn't. It's very easy to goof it up. So because this is an all-in-one, okay, so that's right. The comma's missing. That's one issue. The other issue is that there's a space here and there's not a space here. So how do I fix that? Well, I would fix that. You're absolutely right. And I would fix that since it's all one big string. I'm not putting any, I'm putting this comma in, but this will be interpreted as part of the literal string that comes out here, right? So to fix the spacing inconsistency with this, I would do what? I would just simply put a space right there. Okay, so now, thank you for catching that. Now, it should be identical. Okay, so I enter somebody's first, yeah?
Quick question.
Sure.
So if we want to remove the space from the first, rather than add one to the second, you would have to, I guess, enter in the print within the, enter an argument at the end of what the end is going to be on that second line, second print line. Is that right?
On the first print line. Is that what you?
Right. Yeah. Wherever you are right now, wherever the cursor is right now. Yeah.
Right. You want to get rid of this space?
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, you got it. You would have to say separator. The default separator is what?
Space.
Yeah, it's a space.
Yeah.
So I want it to be nothing. So I'd do this.
Right. Okay. Makes sense.
And then hopefully it'll work. And we'll say Robert this time. And sure enough, right?
Great.
Yeah.
Thanks.
And it got rid of it. It not only got rid of it here, it got rid of it here as well.
Yep.
Because, right. Good. Okay. So print's a function you're going to use all the time. But there's more to it than just saying print. And particularly when you get into elaborate print statements where you're printing out all kinds of stuff, you know, string and then a value and then another string, another value, you're better off using F statements, even though it will, you know, it'll desynchronize your thinking at first, but you'll get it quickly. It's easier because when you've got a bunch of strings and real variables together, you've got to do this stuff, okay, which is just inherently more complicated and more prone to error, little errors like I just made. If you just got one big string, you can put in spaces anywhere you want. You can put in variables values anywhere you want like that. Okay, so here's, okay, well, we just did that. Let's see. Okay, this is another way. This introduces a new use of input. It actually is probably more, whichever way is first, you know, every person will get their own style of coding. You get used to doing it one way or the other, and you just keep doing it that way. But notice you can use input without the prompt, right? In the previous examples, we said input and we gave them this prompt, and then we said equals some variable. Here, we're doing it on 2 lines, which actually is more cumbersome, but it works. Okay, so let's run this, and then we'll go back and look at it. This is slide 20. Slide 20, I'm sorry, this is slide 22. Remember, input always, if you just have input, it always returns a string. And there's no value. So what actually gets input here in first name is whatever the person types in. Okay, it'll change that to a string and put it here in first name. Okay, so try this. So this would be slide 22. And we run this. It's going to stall here, but that's going to be invisible to you because there's no action invoked in this line, no output action. What does that mean? Well, if I run it, it just simply, the print statement causes this to come out, and then the cursor pauses here on the next line, and it's waiting for me to put something in there on the next line. Then I hit enter. This value, the input command with no argument, picks that up and causes it to be instantiated into first name here. And notice again, we're using the F statement to output. Okay, so in my opinion, this is not the preferable way to do it on 2 lines. Why do I say that? Well, concise code, in my opinion, is always better than verbose code. You want as few lines as possible for all kinds of reasons, not the least of which, with large programs, it'll run faster, but also it's just easier to understand. You know, if you got a lot of redundancy and a lot of repetition, it's harder to maintain and it's harder to figure out what's going on. And so you get points for doing the same thing with less code. But you can figure it out. You can't put it all in one single line. So there's kind of a balance there, but because of what I would call Occam's razor, a variant of Occam's razor, which means the simplest way to do things is the best way or the most feasible. This is not preferable in my opinion. Other people might disagree, but
Can you show the first one again so we can
Yeah.
again see the difference in the syntax?
yeah,
Thanks.
sure. I might already have it open. Here's slide
It is open, yeah.
right? So, and really to make them equivalent, I would get rid of this, right? I'd say, so the second slide doesn't use this stuff if I'm doing this right. These two are equivalent, right? So this one over here on the left has 3 lines. This one here, the previous one, which is on the right, has 2 lines, right? This we're nesting function. You could say we're nesting things. We're not really nesting them, but this first line over here does this and this. Okay, so why use 2 lines? Do it in 1 line. It's but again, you've got to remember both here and here, input will, no matter what you type in, you can type in special characters, you can type in numbers, you can type in words, it doesn't matter. Input is going to think it's a string. So if you want to change it to a number like this, you've got to, and you expect it to be, in this case, an integer, you want to nest your input statement inside the other R native function that's going to change it to an integer. Okay, so you would say, and I can leave this variable name the same. You say my age is, and hopefully this will work. Let's see, and I'll say I'm going to save this under a different name so the next time I use these materials, I don't get all confused. File, save as slide 21 mod.
Jeffrey, could you do 1 line? Could you say print input?
Yes. I'd have to think about that for a second, because you got to, the way we've done this, I don't think you could just nest. No, you couldn't. Well, no, this wouldn't work. Is this what you mean? Something like this?
Yeah.
Let's try it. I don't think, because print is expecting. Yeah. Okay. Let's try and see. I don't know. I don't think so, but I don't know. Say
You have a P at the end.
Huh?
You have a P at the end of it.
Oh, no. It's not going to work. My money would say this is going to
I
get
think
me.
you need to close the parenthesis.
Oh, yeah. You need that too. And I do this. You are going to do this. You're going to make simple errors forever.
Huh.
And it's so embarrassing, because I'll be in front of a class or in a training session like this, and I'll write a few lines of code and I'll try it and it doesn't work, Okay, so this looks syntactically correct, I guess. Let's see if it works. Okay, well, I learned something every day. I'll say I'm 26. No, it didn't work. First name is an invalid keyword argument for print. Okay, so the problem is this, this is not an argument. It's expecting this to be some, because
So it's not saving the input as a variable now, is that right?
Correct. It's looking at this and saying, well, this is supposed to be a natural argument of print, but in the definition of print, there is no argument called first name. Right.
So the variable should be introduced before the use of the print function.
Yeah. I have never seen a program do this in 1 line. I'm not saying that it can't be done, but I've never, in common practice, and with all the programs in this book, they never do it that way. So that would be my take on that.